Coming up on this episode of F1 Briefings, AlphaTauri's new name for the 2024 season has potentially been leaked, and the iconic US circuit Laguna Seca is under threat after a local lawsuit. Welcome to F1 Briefings, proudly partnered with Sports Illustrated. My name is Alex Harrington. We are both FIA accredited journalists. This is Lydia Me.
Hello, and if you like what we're saying, please do give us a follow on social media. I'm at Lydia Me F1. Your Alex does F1.
Yep.
Whilst you're there, give F1 Briefings and SIF1 a follow for all the latest updates.
Oh, yeah, we have all the bells and whistles, but remember, the biggest bell and whistle is the podcast, which is available Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, everything you can imagine, YouTube, all sorts. Now, let's start with, I think it's probably the biggest story going into 2024, because there's been nothing going on. It's been the quietest off-season in the world. Potential rebrand for AlphaTauri. We saw it pop up, didn't we? Let's look at some photos now. That's Laguna Seca, which we'll get onto in a minute. But we saw it pop up on social media, didn't we? It was kind of like this one. They changed an Instagram account to Visa CashApp Racing Bulls, and obviously eagle-eyed fans of the sport screenshotted this, and the screenshots will be rolling in the center eventually. Now, obviously, AlphaTauri is being rebranded for the 2024 season. This has been confirmed. Helmut Marko, the guy from Red Bull that we've all heard of, has said there will be new sponsors and also a new name. The orientation is clear, based on Red Bull Racing, as far as the regulations allow. Do-it-yourself constructors are the wrong way. I think it's fair to say that AlphaTauri is struggling. They have Daniel Ricciardo now, which is great. Mm-hmm. Yuki Tsunoda bringing in those dollars. But the actual team is struggling very much, and that's just because they haven't got the car. I think Yuki and Ricciardo are fine drivers. But the car is struggling, and we saw last season, towards the end of the season, when they started to adopt more upgrades, more Red Bull-esque upgrades, they actually came into their own. There are a few things changing in 2024 for AlphaTauri, and that includes them getting much more up close and personal with Red Bull. They're moving to Milton Keynes, aren't they? Yeah,
I think it's worth adding that it is all within regulations. It's, been met by criticisms from other team principals, fans, you name it, but it will still be within regulation. It will be closely monitored. It's naturally going to receive criticism because obviously Red Bull was so dominant last year. As soon as AlphaTauri then adopted some more kind of RB19-esque updates, they started dramatically improving their performances, but it will be monitored.
Yeah, and it's not like other teams aren't doing this as well. Like McLaren, Aston Martin, they both use Mercedes parts. Aston Martin more so, obviously. They basically use the whole rear end of the Mercedes.
The problem is that both teams are owned by Red Bull. That's why it sounds bad.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? It's like with two teams owned by Red Bull, like really, it's been a bit of an issue since the inception of the team, because if Red Bull want to win a race, let's say a safety car would win them the race, what's to stop them, theoretically, from saying, hey, Ricciardo, do you mind just crashing just quickly?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, because you pay my bills. It's, there is that question. Obviously, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I'm sure it doesn't happen. But fans are going to wonder if it does. And I think that's big. Zach Brown is also wondering what is going on with the relationship between Red Bull and AlphaTauri. He said, "We are very concerned about the alliance between AlphaTauri and Red Bull. I believe this is something that will need to be addressed in the future. So I think our sport still has a long way to go to make sure everyone is truly independent. These are two teams with common ownership, which is not the case in other sports. Red Bull could benefit from this in many different ways. There's a reason they're moving a lot of stuff from Italy. I think we need to look at the governance of the sport with regards to technical alliances."
I think it's become more of an issue, if you will, since the cost cap, because that adds another layer to it, doesn't it? Where how do they monitor information being shared, or like costs being maybe put
or like
in other categories?
And development.
Yeah, it's like, it's another area that they could potentially use to their advantage in terms of how the cost cap works. So I think obviously both teams have been going for a really, really long time, but since the cost caps come in, it's kind of added another layer of
opportunity.
Yeah, and that has led to people asking more questions, I think. And then now, on top of that, they're being very open, saying that AlphaTauri is going to be more in line with Red Bull. It just adds to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, so next year they are taking the front suspension of the RB 20, I would assume. Will it be the RB20?
Well, that's what they're calling it at the moment, but we don't know yet.
No, I was wondering if it was the front suspension from next year, from this season's car, 2024, or is it last year?
I think it's last year.
I think it's last year. But, they're also, because they're upgrading the chassis, they're going to be taking other parts as much as they can, actually, from Red Bull within the regulations, which means AlphaTauri could suddenly jump up the grid because, we know how dominant the Red Bull has been in the hands of Max Verstappen. And he has a very specific driving style, which actually doesn't suit a lot of drivers. So whether it actually results in high performance from AlphaTauri, it probably will, because the front suspension is such a huge part of their team's success. It's all around this anti-dive concept, which allows the car to remain very stable when braking and accelerating, specifically braking, that anti-dive as the weight of the car moves forward. The front suspension keeps it level with the ground, and it means that the ground effects aerodynamics can do their job. But yeah, there are other teams that do this. Ferrari, Haas, they share parts. Haas wouldn't be a team if they weren't able to do that. Aston Martin, like I said, they use the whole backside of the Mercedes car. And with the upgrades that Mercedes is going to be doing going into 2024, that means that Aston Martin will have those same upgrades. So, I mean, what do we think? Is it an issue?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be so closely monitored that they're not going to be able to do anything. I personally feel it poses more of an issue when you've got the likes of Andretti and other people wanting to get into the sport. It's such a competitive place to be, and there's a lot of interest in joining.
Why is one owner allowed two teams?
Yeah, is it fair to have two teams owned by the same company? I don't think so. But in terms of this, them working more closely together, I think it's going to be so closely monitored that I don't think it's going to be an issue, which is not really what people want to hear. They like the drama.
They like the drama. So yeah, a lot of changes coming to AlphaTauri. It's likely that they are going to be called Visa CashApp RB, not Racing Bulls RB, because I think Racing Bulls is probably a little too close to Red Bull, and they still want that differentiation in the branding. And on that point as well, VisaCashAppRB.com was purchased. It's not exactly a name that rolls off the tongue, is it?
No. Also, it's like, okay, so we've also had the steak saga. That is a mouthful, but it's obviously going to be shortened to steak.
Yeah.
What is this going to be shortened to? Visa Cash App.
That is actually a very... surely just RB, right? No, it can't, because that's Red Bull. That's such a good question.
Visa?
Look, as the Visa Cash App RB goes round the corner really quickly, because it's got RB parts, and through goes the Visa Cash App RB car. It's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't know.
I'm not feeling it.
Yeah, they did also buy the domain racingbulls.com. And that is redirected to Visa Cash App RB. It could be Racing Bulls. Who's to know?
Imagine if after all this they're like, we've just changed our mind. We've renewed our contract with AlphaTauri just to be done with it.
Yeah, I mean...
Or Toro Rosso.
Yeah, bring back Toro Rosso. That was a great name. Yeah, we've known that there's been a new sponsor coming for a long time, since maybe like Italy last year. Which was the Grand Prix that was cancelled because of the flooding? It was near Faenza.
Emilia.
Yeah, that's right. The Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. It was kind of like rumored at that point. More money is always good for the sport, but we are seeing a lot of sponsorship names, aren't we? Stake. Before it was actually confirmed to be Stake, it was like a long list of Stake Sauber F1 team sponsored by Kick. Oh,
but they're all like that. Like you've got Oracle Red Bull Racing,
Mercedes,
but
AMG,
when
Petronas.
you're referring to them, you tend to just drop that and go for Mercedes or Red Bull.
Yeah, shall we just keep on calling it AlphaTauri?
I'm just not getting this one. I still wouldn't put it past them to go for something completely different.
yeah.
Just kidding.
Can we call it chips? So we get steak and chips at the bottom of the grid. That'd be on the grid. Along with these changes, they've got a lot of new personnel as well. Alain Permain, Laurent Mackies, Peter Bayer, all in big leadership roles. I am actually thinking that AlphaTauri, whatever the hell they're going to be called next season, we'll find out in February. I think it's going to be good for them.
I think so. I think also from Daniel Ricciardo's point of view, they will have promised him something. Do you know what I mean?
A seat in a Red Bull car. Maybe.
Potentially that, or a Racing Bulls car.
Bulls car, yeah.
I don't think he'd be... I mean, it's not all down to him, but he...
Wait, there we go.
Arguably is... There's no way of saying this without it being savage, but he's better than an AlphaTauri.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So, a current AlphaTauri.
Yeah. Sorry, did we have the headline at the bottom on Laguna Seca for the whole video?
Well,
so
it's
far?
Important, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. Sorry, guys. Usually I'm better than this. Let's move on to Laguna Seca while we're here. I think we've done that to death. Laguna Seca. This is actually really sad because this is happening all around the world, and it's a big issue, isn't it? Like, it's a big issue. People are moving next to racing tracks, and you get the house cheap because of the noise pollution. Every once in a while there's a race. Surprise, surprise. You've moved near a racetrack. You'd probably think the same thing if you moved near a trumpet convention, or I don't know.
A gun range.
Range. You expect it because you're right next to it. And guess what? It makes sound. The issue is that people have found out that if they move next to a track, they pay less for their house. They then get the track shut down and the value of their houses go up. It's all about money, isn't it?
Yeah. And so just to recap, that is what's happened. So the local residents around Laguna Seca have filed a lawsuit against the circuit. The circuit already runs with restrictions. So they've got a cap of 35 events a year. So remember, this is a business. Like, they've got to keep going.
Yeah.
Which that's what the residents are going for, isn't it? If they get those restrictions kind of even tighter, then how is that business going to keep going? So they're citing issues like environmental impact, the sewage system, obviously the noise, things like that. It's
crap.
I'm with you. You know where you're buying your
stupid.
house, and that circuit has been going since 1957. At that point, it was in the middle of nowhere. It still kind of is, but those houses were built after the circuit. You know where you're buying your house. Like, that is what a solicitor is for.
Yeah, you do surveys. I mean, if you're viewing that, it's next to a track.
Yeah.
And Silverstone almost got screwed by this as well. And there are rumours. I'm not actually sure if this is confirmed. There are rumours next to Silverstone. Sorry, it wasn't Silverstone. Brands Hatch, a smaller racetrack in England. There were rumours that it was actually Murray Walker, the legendary F1 commentator, who complained about the noise. I don't know if that's true, but it's just a story. It's an odd wives' tale. But the same thing is happening with Silverstone. The same thing happens everywhere. People are stupid and people are complaining. People are lacking the common sense to think, if I move next to somewhere noisy, there will be noises.
It's like moving near an airport or like on a flight path.
Yep.
You just, either the house is worth it or it's not.
Yeah.
Move on.
Yeah.
Or move.
Or just move. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. I know people are having financial struggles at the moment, and I'm very sorry for them. But everyone's going through the same thing. We're all struggling. Will it actually be successful? That is the question. And the thing is that yes, it could be. It could be. From what I've read, people are actually very worried that this is going to go through. And it's incredibly sad. I know Laguna Seca isn't an F1 track. It's not rated for a Grand Prix. But it's a brilliant track. Like, come on. We all raced it on Gran Turismo. Like, you were there, right? It's a great track. The iconic corkscrew.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brilliant thing. And it would be such a shame to see it close down. Hopefully it won't. But we just don't know these days. Motorsport is becoming a rarer and rarer occurrence. It's becoming difficult to drive just generally on the roads. It's becoming more expensive. It's becoming harder. Younger people, they aren't that interested in driving anymore. And I'm sure that translates to an interest in racing.
Do you know what I find interesting as well, though? So the local residents are obviously going in on Laguna Seca. But there is a gun range like very close by.
Oh, to shoot the resident? Oh, no. Can't say that. Well, yeah. Well, it just goes to people are stupid. People are stupid.
Yeah, and I think it's short-sighted. Like, with every circuit and track, that is employment opportunities for the local area. Take that away, that is some other people's livelihoods.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's like the Mercedes HQ in Brackley. That's undergoing huge expansions at the moment. And people are complaining, even though it's the biggest employer in the area. That's madness, isn't it?
I mean, people love to complain. Especially British people, we love it. But
we do. It's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's going to be so sad if the Laguna Seca circuit goes. Because also then what happens to that land? It's just going to be built on, isn't it?
Yeah, houses. And on that happy note, thank you so much for watching. Let's hope that Laguna Seca doesn't shut down. Let us know in the comments if you actually think it will go through this lawsuit, and if you do think the track will be shut down. And let me know in the comments, because I know you guys did it. Gran Turismo 4. What was your favourite car to drive around Laguna Seca? I really liked like a Mercedes, a Mazda MX-5 Mark III. Those were great. Just light, really cool. You could see some MotoGP going on. I actually don't know much about motorcycles, but I got this from the Red Bull Content Ball. It's the only images I could find that I could use for editorial use. So hopefully, look at that's the iconic corkscrew right there. What an amazing piece of track.
It would be amazing if it was on F1. Yeah, that's my top choice.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
okay,
it would be amazing, but it's not going to happen.
Not top choice ever, but, if another one in America happened.
Yeah. Good luck going down the corkscrew with ground effect and with those cars being so close to the ground. It'd be incredible to watch, but...
Carnage.
Yeah. Which is maybe what we want. Cool. Well, on that note, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe and click that notification bell if this is something you enjoy. Find us on f1briefings.com in between videos to keep up with all the news going on in the Formula One world. And yeah, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Alex does F1, Lydia me F1. We're here, we're there, we're all around. All around. It's going to be a great season. Thank you so much for watching and see you soon.